So OpenGov Hack Night is an event that's been going on for 2 years here in Chicago. It's an event that started with just 4 of us meeting every once a week to work on projects with open data. And through just by having it happen every week, it's grown from 4 people every week to 40 to 50 every week.
I came to OpenGov Hack Night backwards. I was working on a data project already with Chicago Public Schools data and needed a resource to help me collaborate around ways to code that data, visualize that data, bring that data to a larger community. And I was introduced to the people at OpenGov Hack Night, even though I don't code anything, and they were very generous and gave me that forum in order to bring the data that I had to a larger civic community.
Open data is all the knowledge that city governments have about where we live, put out there for people to use. It turns out local government is one of the biggest information gathering machines out there. And they've always tracked, where's that pothole, who's starting that business. It's just that that information used to live first in cuneiform tablets and then eventually in lonely spreadsheets somewhere. And in the last decade, governments have started wising up and taking the risk of actually putting all this stuff out there. And it's sparked a renaissance of people making civic apps, analyzing how city government is doing, and really explaining how cities work to their fellow man.
So civic hacking is taking open data or taking data or anything from that comes out of a government and does something that's sort of a little bit different with it. So there's a strong correlation between civic hacking and open source software and open data. Those are terms that are kind of like thrown around a lot when people talk about civic hacking. An example would be the city of Chicago has released this data set on crime. So every single crime that's been reported to the Chicago Police Department since 2001 is in a giant spreadsheet that is free for anybody to go download. And what's come out of that data being released is a bunch of different apps to look at and view that data. Another really good one is an app called School Cuts.
School Cuts was created for Chicago public school parents and also neighborhoods, communities that were faced with the potential of their neighborhood school being closed last year in one of the largest historical school closings in the United States. Parents were able to use School Cuts to go on and get data about their schools that was not easily accessible in other ways, so that they could use that data to advocate at these community meetings that Chicago Public Schools were closing, so they could say, this is why we don't think you should close our school. So when School Cuts was released, we had expected parents to be using it and neighborhood groups to be using it. We were also thrilled to discover that a lot of people who advocate for educational policy in the local and national community were accessing School Cuts. Journalists were using the website, politicians were using the website, and what was really interesting was when we were hearing from employees at CPS Central Office themselves that they were going to School Cuts to keep track of what was actually going on within Chicago Public Schools.
One of the key ingredients to a successful app is taking something that is often very complicated, which like pretty much everything in government is pretty complicated. There's a lot of processes involved, and explaining it in a way that is understandable by the average person. And that's really like one of the biggest benefits of the open government movement, is just having a lot of people looking at this data and making the different things the government does like more understandable, more accessible, which leads to better democracy.